Hello students, welcome to SK Biology. In this video, I am going to discuss active immunity and passive immunity. Both are types of adaptive immunity, but they work in completely different manner. Active immunity develops when our own immune system produces antibodies and memory cells after exposure to an antigen. Since the body actively participates in defense, it is called as active immunity. I repeat, body actively participates in defense, so it is called as active immunity. On the other hand, passive immunity occurs when ready-made antibodies are transferred from another individual or a source. Here, the recipient immune system does not actively produce antibodies. So, it is called as passive immunity. Now, let us look at the important features of active immunity. First feature is antibodies are produced by the person's own immune system. Second, memory cells are formed which helps the body remember the antigen for future protection. Third is the protection is long lasting. And the fourth one is the response develops slowly because immune system needs time to react. And finally, the strong secondary immune response occurs when the same antigen enters again. Now, coming to the passive immunity has different characteristics. Here, ready-made antibodies are directly transferred to the person. The protection develops immediately because antibodies are already available. However, memory cells are not formed. Therefore, protection is temporary and short. Also, there is no secondary immune response occurs after re-exposure to the same antigen. Now let us understand types of active and passive immunity. First, we will discuss active immunity. Active immunity can be of two types: natural active immunity and artificial active immunity. Natural active immunity develops after natural infection by pathogen. For example, chickenpox. A person infected with chickenpox develops antibodies and visually becomes immune for a life. In case of artificial active immunity, it develops after vaccination. Vaccine contains weakened, killed or antigenic part of pathogen which is injected into person to get artificial immunity. For example, polio vaccine which stimulates immunity against polio and hepatitis B vaccine which protects against hepatitis B infection. In case of passive immunity, it is also of two types: natural passive immunity or artificial passive immunity. Here, in case of natural passive immunity, antibodies are naturally transferred from mother to child. The best example is IgG antibodies are passed through placenta to the fetus during pregnancy, and IgA antibodies are transferred through mother's breast milk. So these antibodies protects baby during early life. In case of artificial passive immunity, here ready-made antibodies are injected to the person to provide direct immunity. For example, anti-rabies serum after dog bite, tetanus antitoxin after injury, and snake antivenom for snake bite. All these examples are of artificial passive immunity. Now, let us understand the mechanism of active and passive immunity. In active immunity, antigen enters the body and stimulates B cells and T cells. The immune system produces antibodies as well as memory cells. This process takes time but provides long-lasting protection. In case of passive immunity, ready-made antibodies are directly introduced in the body. These antibodies immediately neutralizes pathogen, but since memory cells are not formed, protection lasts only for a short period of time. Active and passive immunity both has advantages and disadvantages. In case of active immunity, it has advantages like long-lasting protection, formation of immunological memory, and strong and specific immune response. Disadvantages of active immunity are as follows. It takes long time to develop. Vaccines may require booster, that is repeated doses, and it is not useful for immediate protection. Passive immunity has some advantages like provides immediate protection, useful during emergencies, and helpful for immune compromised individuals. It also has some disadvantages like temporary protection, no memory cell formation, and repeated administration is required. In this table, I have summarized the differences between active and passive immunity.